Welcome back. We thank you for staying with us on The Explainer tonight. And we continue with our conversation with the Governor of Nairobi County, Johnson Sakaja, who's still here with us. We're still glad you are here. We've got a number of issues to get into. I'd like to just very quickly talk about, finish up with the question of the Maradi explosion. What's the status of that now? I mean, there's been, they're seeking for compensation for those who are affected by it. What's the status of that at this moment?
It's a very unfortunate occurrence that happened in February, early February. A lot of the families are still under our care. As of today, for instance, I can show you we had around 35 people being treated.
When you say under our care, what does that mean? So what are you doing exactly?
Medical care.
Okay. Is that being offered free of charge? Yes. When you say our care?
Yes.
Okay.
It's free of charge.
Okay.
Because you have to keep treating the burns. Around 200, actually 300 ultimately, more than 200 that was reported, suffered burns. Every day they keep coming for dressing and to be sorted out. We've done quite extensive humanitarian support to just livelihoods, the families that lost loved ones as well. Just trying to give them support. Can you quantify that support? When you say humanitarian support, what does that entail exactly? Well, in the first few days we had to give them food and just to shelter them. We give them certain allocations from the county, but also because of the limitations of what the county can do, given budget constraints, you have to go to the control of budget, it takes long. We had personal donations. I'm very grateful to the Women Rep of Nairobi, Esther Pasaris. She helped us, she gave donations. A lot of political leaders came together, gave donations. Of course, that's not sustainable. Unfortunately, we have a larger problem, of fires. And I'll give you an example. Just that month, there were more than 65 fires in Nairobi. A lot of these fires are caused by illegal power connections. And it's something that we've been grappling with, something I've been dealing with even when I was senator, because it's under Kenya Power. The regulation of gas filling plants, etc., is not under the county, it's under EPRA. But despite that, we said, look, whether or not it's under EPRA, we will not allow them to be 200 meters from any residential area. The problem as well with Maradi is that the area had been designated in 1976 master plan of Nairobi as a light industrial area. And so a lot of the residential structures came after that designation. So what do we do now with that? Because... So working with EPRA, I've been in communication with the Minister for Energy, the CS Davis Chirchir, just to, tell him, look, you might have your regulations, but we have lives and livelihoods. We can't... The solution, for instance, in many of the settlements where they've actually removed transformers, they've removed transformers, they've disconnected people because of illegal connections. I said, that is not sustainable. Work with these people, give them better, rates, give them a bulk transmission rate.
Allow me to interject, because the Director General of IPRA, when he appeared before the Energy Senate Committee, talked about them shutting down these illegal gas filling sites, and they said they'd identified some that are across the county. May not be under your purview per se, but these are residents of your county, so you've got a duty of care. Do you know how many of those illegal sites are there, and have you followed up with IPRA to find out about their processes of shutting down sites such as these, so that Maradi doesn't happen again?
We didn't wait for EPRA to shut them down. We shut down 150.
150
of such sites.
Okay.
We shut them down, and we have to sustain to make sure that they don't come up in those areas that are too close to residential places. It's unfortunate because this one had been going on for many, many years. In fact, unfortunately, some of the officers I was speaking to would say that, even they used to go and refill their gas, from those places. There's a police camp nearby there. And so it's something that had gone on for too long. And that's what happens, when you cut shortcuts and you don't have a proper plan.
So what's your plan for compensation, or what do you think should be done for these residents?
Well, not to go into an area of sub judice because it's in court. We want to hear what the court says. We feel, from a moral standpoint, they deserve, some, good level of compensation. I won't say from which entity, because legally, if you look at the Energy Act and petroleum, there is the entity that is charged with regulating where these things, where these plants operate. But either way,
But they get a business license from the county.
No, there was no business license. No business license from the county. And normally when the land use on the title stipulates it's light industrial or that kind of facility, then they're allowed to operate as such. And I think it was operating, actually it was operating as a garage. It was at night that, the drivers of the tankers would come and sell it to people, and it's happened over so many years. I'm very happy that the police swung into action. The DCI made arrests. People are going to answer. It's a live matter. It is still in court.
Yeah.
Anybody culpable, whether from the national or county government, at whatever level, must be held to account.
All right. My last question on this before we move, because again, it's a question of accountability. When do you intend to appear before the Energy Committee to just speak about this issue of Maradi? Because it is, a question that you're not being seen to lead from the front. In fact, when the Maradi, incident happened, you were out of the country? Or were you in the country?
I was out of the country, you're right.
You were out of the country, okay.
And immediately I came back, I went there immediately.
But when did we see you? 5 days after the event?
Immediately I came back, I went there.
Okay, but that was 5 days after. I mean, the question is just about, do we see the governor leading from the front when there are issues that require that, and your appearance again?
I think there are very few that you can pick out that I'm not, and that's why you have 2 or 3 examples only.
Well, I'm speaking about this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's speak about this one.
So I've been there a couple of times.
Yeah.
I've interacted with the families. I've visited them in their homes. I've commiserated with those who lost their loved ones. Of course, you cannot return a life that is lost. And we've taken action beyond our mandate to close down those illegal, entities, and not even illegal in terms of operation, because EPRA gives them a license. But we said whether or not you have an EPRA license, as a county, because all matters of planning fall under us, if you are 200 meters from a residential area, we will not allow you, whether or not you have an EPRA license. We will not allow you to operate from there.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the Dishina County, which is something I would be correct to say is a project or an initiative you are proud of. There are questions around this issue, that it is discriminatory and only serves children from public primary schools and not the others. What do you have to say to this, considering that, I think over 70% of the school-going children are in the alternative informal schools?
Yeah.
And the argument is Nairobi residents pay for the taxes. You're paying 25 shillings per meal, right? Subsidized, and the parents pay 5.
Yeah.
What do you say about the issue that this is discriminatory and does not serve all of the residents and the children of Nairobi County?
Dishina County is the most amazing project that I've seen government doing at any level. When I was senator, I remember visiting after COVID, going to a few schools to donate desks and asking these kids. Normally they get excited and they're, oh, Super Senator, what can we do? I ask them, what do you want? They say a bus or sweets or a football. And this time in Katina Primary and also Kenyanjui Road, they said they want food. And I realized it's actually a problem. I did research. I saw the National School Lunch Act of the US from 1965. I tried to bring it up in the Senate as a bill. We didn't succeed at that point. And it was one of my manifesto promises, meaning that by the time we went to the elections, those who voted for me, and I thank them every day, knew that is one of the things that I would implement. We broke ground in August last year. We built 10 central kitchens. Based on the research that 1 out of 4 children in Nairobi miss school or miss a great part of their education because of hunger. And we said this is something we must solve, and we must start from somewhere. Our model is hub and spoke. And so we built these amazing facilities in our schools, 10 of them already done, feeding 184,000 children. Early this year, I remember at Nairobi Primary, Milimani, Secondary, which is bordering Nairobi Primary, when we were issuing bursaries, which of course also we've really succeeded on. We've issued 1.8 billion in 19 months, yet there was only 3 billion in 10 years. But anyway, there's a young girl called Mildred. Mildred is an orphan. Mildred had not been performing well in school. When introduced Dishina County in her school, It was the only term, her last term in her final year, where she went to school every day. Mildred emerged as one of the top students in Nairobi. She got called to secondary school, Loreto, and she keeps this watch. I wear this watch every day. This is the NFC device that we use to track the payments and the support, because parents pay 5 shillings. Parents in Nairobi are very happy. The children are extremely ecstatic. I'd invite you to just go next door tomorrow at lunchtime and see. We've started with 184,000. I've broken ground in the last 2 weeks of another 6 kitchens in Donom Primary, in Embakasi East, in Dandora, in all across the county, Mutuini Primary School, you know, everywhere in the city.
Okay, but let's address the discrimination question.
That's what I'm getting to. So once you move from 184,000, with these extra kitchens, we get to 250,000 children. What we realized is that there's a shortage of public primary schools in Nairobi. You have to start from somewhere. You will not feed all the children by a magic wand, Yvonne. You have to start somewhere and scale it up. You know, that is the concept of scaling up. Now, what we intend to do, because we've got a lot of partners, I took the French minister for state, and in one of my trips that you have spoken about, got €1 million to feed the kids who cannot afford at all. And when we went to Olympic Primary, they said, look, no child should be moved out of the school line.
Okay.
So all of these children...
Allow me to just come in a little
Allow me to finish. Okay. All of these children in informal schools that are not in public primary schools are going to be matched to the closest primary school eventually. And so at lunchtime, they can go to that school, have a meal, and go back to their school. The Abet schools have been suffering. I've met their leadership. They were charged 10,000 shillings for license. I now charge them 3,000, which is 1,000 per term. And they're excited and waiting for us to complete these kitchens and to scale it up. So eventually we want all the children. The children in the private schools and public schools are all my children. They're all our children. They're all your children. And so that is the intention of Dishina County.
Okay. I'd like us to talk about the issue.
So there's no discrimination, Yvonne?
There is no discrimination.
No.
But at the AFBET schools, then, I mean, how was your selection process?
You start with your schools. You start with the property you have.
Do you not start and try to make it, because all of them, do you not start with all of the residents of Nairobi County?
How?
Where you would pick, I don't know, perhaps you would pick children, schools from AFBET and from the public primary school?
Let me tell you, because I know. You start with the infrastructure you control. The infrastructure you control is the public schools, which are owned by Nairobi County. We have the titles. We build those kitchens. Those kitchens are owned by the people of Nairobi, and then you scale it up. And that is the progress. That is how you grow such a program. Now we have sent regulations to the county assembly. The regulations provide for a governance structure of Dishina County, where we shall involve even the private sector. And any Nairobian shall be able to say, let me adopt a child for a month. Let me adopt a child for a week. Let me pay for 1 meal through M-Pesa. We'll have, you know, accountability through, you know, an audit firm can come and say, look, let us do for you that audit for that. But you grow it. The transformation that is there, Yvonne, let me tell you, there are children who don't finish their food. When they get 650 grams of a healthy meal, they take it back home for their siblings and their parents, you know. You never say that, let me not help these 2 people because I can't help 100. You help those who you can help. You know, it's a very defeatist argument to say that you must start with 1 million people. How do you start? Do you build 1 million kitchens? And so it's a model that's scalable. The World Food Program, I was in Paris at the School Meals Coalition, and I gave a presentation on Dishina County. The World Food Program, national, global executive director asked me, can I pick this model to use and scale it up throughout Africa? It's a model that is working. We've seen increased enrollment, increased performance, increased discipline. And that is an investment in the human capital of Nairobi.
Let's focus on the issues of financial audit, and particularly the reports that are coming out of the Auditor General, for which I believe the Senate PAC committee is looking into. So there have been a number of issues that have been raised. In fact, the 2022-2023 audit report for the Nairobi County Executive is an adverse report.
Yes, it is.
Raises a number of issues in there. Let me just give you, an example. The county having a whopping 832 cases, a mere 11 advocates owed 10.7 billion, and another 121 owed another 10 billion. Yeah. It says the county did not report the various funds being run by the county, for instance, the disaster fund.
There's no disaster fund.
Okay, this is the Auditor General's report. Allow me to read it, and then we can get through that. Okay. And then there's a number of other issues, including despite buying vehicles for 100 million only, the county government paid 771 million to vehicle founders. That's 671 million shillings in excess. That is in that report. Despite having their gross pay properly paid, 26 officers were paid an additional 17.6 million shillings. And then there is the issue, Governor, maybe this one you can respond to specifically from this report, which is regarding Nairobi Pay, the revenue management system. The auditor's report says that that company is operating without a valid contract. Who is this entity? They're collecting this money. The Auditor General says there is no valid contract. How can Kenyans trust that the money that is being collected, I suppose, for own source revenue, is going where it should? Why is there no contract for this company?
Okay. Can I answer them in the sequence you've asked?
Sure.
Thank you. Now, first of all, the Auditor General audited, of course, all counties and all government entities. Unfortunately, for 2022-23, no county got a clean report. Nairobi got an adverse report. Nairobi, and you know the kind of opinions of audits. The best, of course, is an unqualified report, you know, that, everything is okay. Then you have a qualified report. You have an adverse report. You have a disclaimer. A disclaimer of opinion is terrible. Yeah. Now, from 2013 to 2018, yeah, Nairobi got disclaimer opinions all those years. Yeah, disclaimer opinions. Meaning it is worse than an adverse report. From 2018 to 2023, this last audit, there were adverse reports from 2018. Throughout the period that I was in the Senate, I was able to go and speak to the audits of 17-18, 18-19, 19-20, and what Senate called me to address is 2021 and 2021-22 when I was a senator. And I was not, they're not my audits, but, government exists in perpetuity. And so you must be able to go and ask those officers who are there to answer. Now, the reason why a report remains adverse is because you have issues that roll over that are not resolved, that keep hanging, And those issues, including what you've spoken about, pending bills. Pending bills are issues that they keep rolling over if they're not dealt with. Now, you've raised the issue of legal pending bills. When I got into office, I found legal pending bills of 21 billion shillings owed to lawyers, 21 billion. And I said, look, this is untenable, it's unsustainable. It is more than twice our own source revenue. It is more than our equitable share of revenue. And so what do? We set up a task force in January last year that was to look at it. The task force had all manner of professionals. It was led by Kamodho Aiganjo, an advocate of the High Court. It had procurement professionals, Mr. Mwinzi. It had auditors and accountants, David Kabeberi of PKF, and all of those. They started the process. And they were looking at this 21 billion. Unfortunately, during that process, a court ruling in Trans Nzoia made it illegal to have task forces that do this work, saying that they are usurping the role of the Auditor General. And so while we questioned that, because they said you must get permission and we've written letters, we said we can't stop there. Let us have our internal team look at all these bills. Was that task force report ever made public? It was not completed. It could not have been made public. The ruling was that it is not lawful. That's a ruling in Trans Nzoia by Justice Mrima. And that was September 2023. And that's the task force you put together? Yes. Okay. No, I mean, the ruling was not about my task force. It was about a task force in Trans Nzoia. But it outlawed all the similar task forces that seem to usurp. And we challenge that because we don't believe that is true. These task forces help you make decisions. And I'll give you an example. From the 21 billion, they had almost narrowed down to around 11. That you can actually discuss. Some of them should be taxed, etc. I've seen fake media reports that say that the Auditor General said that we've paid 10 billion to lawyers. That's not true. You have the report. It is impossible. That is, they would not be able to pay salaries. We've not paid 10 billion to lawyers. The amount paid to lawyers in that financial year was 287 million shillings. Our internal team looked at 44 of the cases, for instance, the 44 cases were amounting to around 5.2 billion. When they reviewed those fee notes, and this 5.2 billion is determined by one person. When you create a team of many people, they were able to bring it down to 2.3 billion shillings to be paid. But moving forward, what do we do? Yeah. Because, you know, an audit is supposed to, an audit is not a punishment tool. An audit is supposed to help you strengthen your systems and strengthen your processes to perform. In fact, I introduced something that the Auditor General picked up, which is called an implementation matrix of past audit questions. We said we need to create a county law office, just like the state law office or the Attorney General's office, that has a capacity to deal with these things in-house. We've created an establishment of 50 advocates of proper standing, post-admission, you know, who should be able to advise the sectors. Many of the cases in court should not be in court. We have lawyers asking for crazy amounts. And I'll give you an example. Okay, so you said, because there's a host of issues, the 10 billion you say was not paid to the Auditor General said it was not paid. No,
okay. No. I want us to talk about 2022, 2023 as well.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, there is the issue of particularly what was, you know, during, you know, your full time in office. Yeah. Tell us about Nairobi Pay and
so are we clear on the lawyers?
Clear.
You're clear.
Let's move.
Wonderful. So about what? Nairobi Pay.
Nairobi Pay.
Nairobi Pay.
Do they have a contract?
Nairobi Pay is a system that was set up during the period when the national government had transferred functions. The NMS was running the county of Nairobi. I remember the president then, President Uhuru Kenyatta, together with what they called the Joint National Mapping, JNAM, developed a system, you know, for revenue collection. This system, I remember even on this show, showing, you know, what was happening in Manyani and with the Ministry of ICT and, you know, the military that time. And they developed a system that was used to collect revenue for Nairobi. We looked at the system looked robust. At that time, I remember the responsibility to collect revenue in 2020 had been transferred to KRA by Nairobi County, by the CEC then, called Alan Igambi. And when transferred it, KRA did not have a system, so they used this system. And so, of course, as a national government entity, a system developed by government. There's no company called Nairobi Pay. In fact, I came up with a name, you know, a brand name, Nairobi Pay. There's no company called Nairobi Pay. It's a system that was created by government, yeah? And so when we got into office, normally what happens...
So who's the provider of this system?
It's a government system, you know, so it's the Ministry of ICT. And so when we got into office, when every governor gets into office, you find a whole slew of entrepreneurs and vendors saying, I have a system, I'll charge you this percent, I'll charge you this percent. And I said, no, let me look at what is working and what can work better for the people of Nairobi. And so after reviewing all the systems that were presented to us, we said, look, why don't we strengthen this system that has been worked on using heavy government resources? Because government is government, you know, and the national government, the county government, Articles 185, 186, 187, and the rest talk about cooperation between government. And so they had no need to have a contract with themselves because it was national government. National government cannot have a contract with itself, with national government. They can create a team to develop that system. Now, what we've been able to do is to bring these developers and to bring these people into the county. We've done an MOU with the Ministry of ICT to actually provide, you know, software as a service as we, you know, strengthen the county's capacity to have its own system. So Governor, that is what...
Governor, why not appear before the Senate PSC committee and answer these questions?
Are you going back to the earlier questions?
Yes, because it is a matter of accountability. I mean, we're glad that we have you here.
I've been there 11 times, and I'm going to go there on the 26th.
All right.
Actually, on the 6th of May.
On the 6th of May?
Yes.
And you can answer to all of these questions on that?
Yes.
All right.
As I should.
So, as you should, as is expected.
And as I always do, and as I've done more than 10 times.
So all of these others are not an issue. I want to talk about, for a minute now, the issue of buildings in Nairobi. And
so we're done with that other question? Or you want to move on?
I want to talk about the issue of Nairobi and the construction therein.
Yes.
You've said, you know, the city is going up.
It must go up.
When was this decision made to remove the height restrictions?
Let me give you context, Yvonne. A lot of the challenges that we deal with in this city, a city that you've grown up in, I know, I've grown up in, is because of a lack of proper planning for Nairobi. The last concrete master plan, there was the 1948 master plan, and then we got the 1976 master plan that looked at a city of a very small population. Thereafter, there have been attempts, start and stop, some failed attempts to come up with one. The closest we got was a new plan, which formed the basis upon which localized area plans can be done. And new plan talks about mobility, talks about water, talks about all these things. And from then, there was supposed to be now localized plans. And I remember in 2021 or 2022, the NMS tendered for different plans, Woodley, Airport North, Embakasi, different areas. But that procurement process stopped. Now, while they did that, there was what we call development control policy that was proposed. And that proposal is what is before the county assembly. That you want to prevent what we call urban sprawl. Urban sprawl, Yvonne, is a case where people move from the urban core of the city because of lack of accommodation. You don't have a densified city. In 2050, the population of Nairobi is going to be 10.5 million people. Now, Nairobi is 696 square kilometers. You will not get extra land. So the first time I spoke about this, we were in Shauri Moyo with the president, groundbreaking housing. And I told him, Excellency, if you look at the economy in Isili and around Isili and that area, it's constrained because of the military airbase. Now, the reason why we had this military airbase, and of course the restrictions are because of planes landing, the reason we had that airbase was to evacuate VVVIPs or the president in case of an emergency. I told him, Excellency, if you try to use that route, you'll get stuck because the place is choked. So why don't you review this? And he actually thought about it and engaged his urban experts, and they lifted the restriction there. So that's the first place I mentioned it. Secondly, we said, look, all these other areas of the city that have the ability to expand in terms of the services, because people assume what I've said is that every part of the city you can go up as high as you want. That is not the case. Development control guidelines are sent to the assembly, and there are procedures through which you can get an approval. There's an urban planning technical committee. The urban planning technical committee can see that, yes, the restriction of 1976 will not work in 2024.
Okay. When was this height restriction removed?
It has not been removed. It's a proposal before the assembly.
However, many would take issue with the fact that you are speaking categorically on the matter.
Yes.
Saying that, we have no option, we are going up.
That's my opinion. I have an opinion that we have no option, we have to go up.
And where is the opinion then of the others, residents, professional associations?
We will engage them and we continue to do so.
Because many are questioning the process by which, let me give you an example.
It's not a decision that's been made.
Let me give you an example. You've just said you engaged the president, on the issue of the Isili Moi Air Base. And you just said that he engaged his urban experts and they agreed to lift it in Isili. But some would say you're not engaging then experts and residents, rather you are perhaps making a fiat on this issue.
Do you know how they're engaged, Yvonne?
Well,
when you send a proposal to the assembly, Article 10 of our Constitution is clear on public participation, and people will be invited to give their views on those proposals before the assembly.
Okay.
That is the process of public engagement.
Governor, why not present this as a proposal? This is that this is a proposal that has been placed before the Nairobi County, and then allow people to give their views, their opinions. 26 professional and resident associations are opposed to your move. They're all saying you've snubbed their requests for meetings and courtesy calls. And the considerations, for instance, for residents are not being taken into consideration. Some would say, as being a leader, it would be that this is the proposal, and then wait for people to give their views, both professionals, residents of all parts of the city, from pipeline to, all ends of the city. But that when you are making categorical statements, opinion or not, you do know that as governor of Nairobi, when you make a strong statement like there is no other way, this is how we're going with the city of Nairobi, that then sends a message that decision is made and seems to ignore the whole process of public participation.
Maybe you're right, but also you're wrong, because We have a process of legislation in this country. And you give a proposal as an executive, you give it to the assembly, whose picture I can see behind here. And that then becomes the field for these discussions. And everyone is going to be invited. In fact, on top of that, Yvonne, not just the building proposals, we are setting up our Vision 2050 task force. A lot of the challenges, and I'd be happy if we had time to discuss, in terms of water and sewerage and the concerns of these residents, is there enough infrastructure for water?
Yeah, is there?
In Kileleshwa?
Yeah.
Is there enough sewerage infrastructure?
Because all of that supporting infrastructure in many places, people don't have water, don't have access to electricity.
I go to work every day dealing with that. We've secured 12 billion shillings from AFD and 8 billion shillings from Africa Development Bank and the French Development Agency. In fact, the expansion works in Kileleshwa was stopped by encroachment at Kenya High. Athi Waterworks is dealing with it. I know today they had a meeting with the contractors on some of these encroachment issues, as well as in the Northern Collector Tunnel. Remember, Yvonne, we have found challenges that we're sorting out systematically. Where you live, I don't know where you live, but where you live, you'll find that you possibly don't get water every day.
No, and there's residents here who are saying the sewer system is already a problem in areas where everyone is putting up tall buildings. I'm just reading you the feedback. Yeah.
Can I explain now? Now, we receive 525 million liters of water every day. Nairobi needs 870 million liters. Yeah. This 525 million liters that we get daily is because of the lack of that forward planning I was talking about. It's only from 4 water sources. Kikuyu Springs, 1907, 6,000 cubic meters. Ruiru Dam, 1928. After that, Sasumo Dam, 60 million liters in Nyandarua. And our biggest source, Ndakaine, that gives us 84% of our water. What have we done with the president and the national government? We had to unlock the first project that was coming after 1997. Remember, this last one was from 1994 to 1997, targeting a population of 2 million Nairobians. Yeah? We are 5 million now. Yeah? 5 million during the day, maybe 4 million at night or so. The Northern Collector Tunnel was stuck. We were able to secure money to pay for the way-leaves, to get people off the line, coming down to Kigoro, coming down all the way to the water treatment. We now have a few weeks. In fact, today's meeting spoke about June. I always give it a pinch of salt. If they say June, I say September, but they say June. 3 weeks ago, actually, I had to write to, talk to Kenha to allow Athi Water to get, a single cut line on the road to allow that 140 million liters to come into Nairobi. 140 billion liters extra, plus 25 million liters from Karemenu. Of course, part of that is going to Ruiru, and part of it will help Kajiado and Machakos. On top of that, Yvonne, these trips that you talk about, I was able to secure $100 million for Northern Collector 2 and Maragua 4. Northern Collector 2 and Maragua 4 will add 220 million liters within the next 3 years.
Is that a grant aid loan?
It's a loan, actually. It's a loan, of course, a concessional loan.
So the Nairobi County got into this arrangement
So the national government is going to be supported. Nairobi Water Company, which is our company, is going to
So this is an agreement between the national government.
It's for Nairobi, so I secured it for... Yes,
that's fine.
I mean, call it whatever, we're getting
No, because for accountability purposes, I want Nairobians to understand whether this loan has been taken as Nairobi County, and we know the procedure of a county getting into such an arrangement. It's just a question on clarification, Governor. Yes, this is with the national government.
Yes, and the procedures for subnational borrowing, because if you look at all the loans that Athi Water, for instance, takes as a national entity, they call them on-lent loans, and the counties end up paying for them. So it is Nairobi County that will pay for it. That is going to unlock for us 220 million. Our engineers, and we have amazing staff in Nairobi County. I must always remind people, we have great people. Our engineers at Nairobi Water have devised a system at Ngedu Water Treatment in Gatundu North, which is our treatment, and we have a school there. We lose 30 million liters every day because of the backwash filtration system. They developed a system that will help us retain the 30 million, which is half of Sasumwa. So we're working on that, and we're making sure that infrastructure is built. So Northern Collector 2, Maragua 4, we're looking at 3 years. Northern Collector 1, 140 million litres. I've said June. You know, that is the official position for it. Now, when you provide for water, Yvonne, you must provide 75% for sewer as well. If you look at Kericho Ndogo, for instance, along, Kileleshwa, there is actually that space, just apart from the encroachment, which we shall deal with. You know, we have to open it up, you know. If you look at Kericho Kubwa, going up around Lavington, you know, and all these areas where you can actually do expansion along the road, we are well on course. We have gotten those resources. Now, if we even give you approval to build up, you must adhere to beacon to beacon. You know, you cannot build beacon to beacon. Let's talk about that for a minute. I want us to take a look at this image here. Yeah. This is from Westlands. It's beacon to beacon, balcony to balcony. How did this get approved, Governor? Well, even if you look at that height, is that the same, looks like the same building?
No, it is not. Those are two different properties.
So, I mean, you can't ask me how it's approved by a picture. I have to find out which property it is. Do you have the LR number? Do you know which road it is on?
No, it's in Westlands. However,
where?
My point is this.
Where in Westlands is it?
My question is this, Governor. How does something like this get approval from the county government?
I'd be very happy if you tell me exactly which property it is, Yvonne, unless you want us to speak hypothetically.
Yeah. I mean, you know.
Okay, hypothetically.
Should such approval be happening for such a structure?
Now, one of the discussions we had with Florence Nyole that you're speaking about is a letter we wrote to them that they snubbed. We told them that people make applications for approvals of buildings and they list professionals. So you have an architect there, you have an engineer there, you have a quantity surveyor, etc., in the submission that you bring in. In that UPTC committee, which of course we're also now reconstituting because it takes 1 year, and we had representatives from the different professional associations, they approve it. But what has been happening over the years is that these professionals then, the developer drops those professionals from his site or from the construction that is going on, and the site goes on. That's why you have had cases of buildings collapsing. The architect who was dropped is no longer there. So we wrote to them and we told them, listen, kindly tell your members, if it's architectural association, tell your architects. If it's engineering IEK, tell your members, if their name has been used for the submission of building approval and they are no longer part of that building, they must report to you so that we know there is no professional on it. So you will find, for instance, in that case or in many similar cases, that is not what was submitted for approval. You know, and so that's where building enforcement then comes.
Because there is enforcement, and that is supposed to be done by the ward officers, right? Because
not ward officers, they're actually.
But they are based at ward level.
No, they're planning officers at the sub-county level.
Great.
Who do that enforcement.
All right.
And we've closed many sites.
In that case, then, is this not a failure on the part of, because you can talk to all of these officials, but there is a part of constant, vigilance around these projects that happens like that. There is another similar project, near Arboretum. In 2019, that was, on riparian land, and all of that was brought down at a time when in this country there was a conversation around it. Governor, there is now a petrol station and another huge building that is on the same site where there was a demolition. Was that an approval? Did that cease to be riparian land?
It was approved. Warma gave the distances from the highest point of the water that you can move to. Actually, initially, the problem with that development, there was a Java house there, a restaurant, let me call it that, and a petrol station. The edge of the building is what was at the wrong place. And they gave the approval and said, look, if it's more than 6 meters to 13 meters, it is okay. The person who applied for the building you're talking about has proper title. We must respect the sanctity of title issued by the government of Kenya, and they've been allowed to build. It's very easy to just say, oh, this one was demolished, why is something coming up? Find out why was it demolished? What was the restriction in terms of the distance from the water? And have they adhered to that? That is the case.
Have they?
Yeah.
Is that your statement today? Yeah. Okay. Look, there's quite a few questions I have that are coming in from members of the public before...
I wish I'd love to answer all of them.
Time is quite finite, so let's see what we can talk about. Here's one about garbage collection.
Yes.
And this is... garbage collection firms were last paid in April 2024. What plan does the governor have? They are choking in debt. A contractor in Nairobi is speaking on that and would like a question. And there's the issue of garbage collection that came up. There's been complaints of contractors on strike, pending bills owed to them of up to 1 billion shillings. And Governor, you know, areas like Umoja Inako that were supposed to be sorting areas, Kawangware as well, a lot of that is
a sorting area.
Sorry?
Umoja Inako is a sorting area.
Is it?
No, it's not.
Why is there garbage there that's being left uncollected? And in Kawangware as well, there's roads that are blocked.
Kawangware, you're talking about Salem Road, a place called Muslim.
What's the status? As
well as a place called on Gitanga Road. There is a collection site. Now, you won't remember, you've come in and you're sorting out systemic problems of decades. You know, it'll be very ambitious to expect that a magic wand is waved and all this is sorted immediately. So let me tell you about the progress that we've made. Number one, the model for garbage collection in the city was completely unsustainable. It was just business. And so you pay people, and these contractors who are texting you and who we love because we work with them, would be paid just because of the weight of garbage they deliver at our final disposal site, which is Dandora. The world has moved to a circular economy. And today we had a great meeting with a team from Ghana, who the president had met when he went there, and you know they've come to Kenya. Circular economy is the way to go, material recovery facilities. What we have done is the following. Number one, build the county's internal capacity to collect this garbage. You know, we've procured more than 50 skips, 10 skip loaders. We've procured 24 tippers that have come in. We have another 24 refuse compactors. If you remember what we used to call Camero, that compresses the garbage as it comes in, that's coming to the city, for us to build our capacity, because a lot of these bills were untenable. You know, if you calculated the weight that they're charging you, it would look as if you collect 9,000 tons of garbage every day. Yet we know Nairobi's production is just about 3,000 tons of garbage every day. What have we done? We've done something that has not been done in decades even. People have been on this show talking about waste to energy. No one has made the strides we've made. We have awarded a waste to energy contract to China National Electric and Engineering Company that is going to convert the waste at Dandora dump site into 45 megawatts of power. Now, they will not just convert it into power, but they'll also help us, because that then becomes their raw material. There are countries that actually export garbage, you know. On top of that, Yvonne, everywhere you go, you will see young people called Green Army. The Green Army is the first biggest employment of environmental officers in Nairobi. The last time environmental officers who sweep our streets, who collect garbage, were employed in Nairobi was in the 80s. And so you find a constituency like Embakasi West or Embakasi East, from Utawala to Mihango to Donholm, currently, before we employed the Green Army, having only 3 or 4 elderly people who are now about to retire, supposed to collect garbage there. And so we've added 3,500 young people who have a job today, who collect this garbage, who sweep our streets every day. In fact, yesterday, right on this show, the CS for roads and transport, Kipchumba Murkomen, acknowledged when he was being asked about the flooding on the expressway. He said, yes, because of the pipes, you know, they're 4-inch pipes and it's too small. But he said, but you guys are only talking about that. You're not discussing why at that point it didn't flood, you know, on the main road. It was because of what the Green Army had been doing. And so we continue to do it. Despite the challenges, we continue to build that capacity. You cannot completely rely on just the private sector to clean your city for you. Finally, the examples you've given is because we have community-based organizations, CBOs, hundreds of them around the city, who get paid, especially in the informal settlements, to collect garbage. And they get paid and they put it in one place. The module that we're working on, working with them and agreeing, is when to bring it out. So you bring out that garbage on the day that the trucks that are assigned to that sub-county are coming to collect the garbage in the sub-county.
There's a question regarding the garbage collection, and this was raised in the 2022-2023 audit report, that garbage collection paid for at 145 million without any documentation and handwritten receipts issued, despite Dandora Weighbridge being capable of generating official receipts. Also, the tippers that you have talked about, what cost were they bought per unit?
I'll have to look at that.
The Auditor General says 27 tippers were purchased at a cost of 772 million shillings, implying, this is the Auditor General's report, implying that each tipper was bought at a whopping 30 million shillings. That's more than double the price
should be around,
in the market.
No, it should be around between 16 and 20. I can get the facts and share with you. And the amount we used was in the region of 100 million shillings. What happens, Yvonne, if you look at the audit process, you have an entry meeting where they give the scope of the audit. They come, they look at issues, they ask for management responses, and they're given. The final audit is when you resolve it at the County Assembly and the Senate, and that is not true. We don't have 771 million shillings to spend on tippers. Okay. That is not what we...
Again, these are Auditor General's reports, and we understand the audit process, and they come in and
it's finalized all of this after the Senate is done with it.
Yes. And hopefully you will go before the Senate to answer some of these questions.
I have told you emphatically, I shall be there on the 6th.
You shall be there on the 6th of May.
And the media will be invited if you come.
We will definitely be there.
Thank you.
Here's a host of other issues. You have not appointed a substantive holder for the county secretary's office. Someone has been acting in that position for 19 months. Of the 35 accounting officers, only 29 have been appointed 19 months down the line. There's a number of other issues that were promises that were made.
This is a very interesting show, Yvonne. You read anything without filtering it.
I'm reading the Auditor General's report.
No, that is not true. There's no one who's been a county secretary for 19 months.
So tell us.
That is not true. The county secretary, I've been in office for 19 months. I've had 2 different county secretaries. We found an acting county secretary called Jairus Musumba. Mr. Musumba acted for a number of months. I'll get the exact number. We proposed his name for substantive appointment at the Assembly where he didn't go through. And so we appointed somebody else to act in that position. There's no one who's acted for 19 months.
Okay, but the position has been unsubstantively filled for the 19 months.
Because it needs assembly.
So typically, there's been different persons at different times acting for the 19 months.
And they've acted for the longest time in the history of Nairobi as a county.
Well, Governor, to be fair,
assembly approval is a decision that is made, by members who are elected. We've sent, just yesterday I sent names of 7 chief officers in addition. They have to go through the selection process, to go through the committees. I hope that they pass them, and they pass all of them, because we need them to...
But nonetheless, the position has remained unsubstantively filled for 19 months. So on that, the Auditor General's position is correct?
Yes, but not one person.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's still unsubstantively filled for this time?
It is. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. So long as the work is being done. And the processes of appointing them, if I was a dictator in the city and I would say, pitisha huyu, lazima nimesema, I'm the governor, that would be another case. But when there are other institutions involved, and institutions of accountability and separation of powers, then some of these things even are actually beyond what the governor can do. So you submit and you propose. Once they're done with the chief officers, I shall submit the name for the county secretary. These things go on. Nairobi has not ended. Nairobi is working. Nairobi is working amazingly. We're not there 100%. We will get there. But we must be able to chart our progress, Even in our first year in office, we're able to raise more revenue than 5 years before us, whether it was NMS, whether it was the county government. And this year already, with 3 months left, we've surpassed it. That is working. Our children are happy. We've opened stadia. Dandora is working. Uhuru Complex, Joka Denge construction is going on. Woodley Stadium. We're building our borough offices. Everything we promised. In fact, if I gave you my manifesto, we're just ticking those boxes.
City Stadium, it is easy. Joseph Kang'ethe, Kiumbuini.
City Stadium, if you go now, there's a contractor on site. If you go to Woodley Stadium, there's a contractor on site. Dandora was completed. It was told for years, and I had to give mention to all the leaders who've been there. In fact, we want to rename it Mugabe Were Stadium, after the late Mugabe Were, who helped us secure that land. If you go to Mwiki Stadium is ongoing. If you go to look at Uhuru Sports Complex that we opened with basketball, netball, with football, You know, for the performing arts, so our recording studio, mobile recording studio is here. We put money to have studios in every sub-county for our young people. If you go to the CBD on a Saturday or a Sunday, and you see the number of young people just being able to shoot for Instagram, to shoot movies and, you know, whatever it is. If you look at the Nairobi Festival, look at the Battle of the... Things are working, you know, and we love it. Go to the CBD today. It looks like a construction site. We're paving walkways, River Road, Latema, Accra Road, Tomboya. You know, go to Race Course Road. It has been, go to Parliament that the President is opening on Friday. Just look at the works that we've done, you know. It would be fair for your audience if you would give the same weight to the things that are actually happening, because this is their city. It's a global capital. They need to know, yes, okay, we've made this progress. We've not concluded on this. We're going to go on. And I want to thank the people of Nairobi, because when we issued our unified business permit in January, this was a promise in the manifesto. We're the first government in the region to have one license for all our business people. You get it online. There's a lady in Embakasi who, I had a story this morning. She used to pay somebody 50,000 to get her license for her bar. And this year she was told, no, you just go online and you print it for yourself. When she did and she saw what we have in our website called E-Verify, she realized actually what she had been paying for the last 5 years was fake. Before you'd go to City Hall, you moved from one office to another office. For your advertising, go to 13th floor. For your fire license, go to fire station on River Road. Today it is one-stop shop. In fact, I had a discussion with Waziri Miano, who wanted to come and see what has Nairobi done. Because even the national government wants to have just one license. The ease of doing business, you know, that is happening in our city. It's amazing. If you come to City Hall Annex, since 1983, no improvement had been done on it. It looks like a banking hall. You know, it is beautiful. Go to our hospitals. Nairobi had no ICU. We have an ICU at Mama Lucy Hospital. We have the first NICU, neonatal ICU for premature babies at Mbagathi. The lifts in Pumwani last worked when I was born. We have new lifts. We've changed the management structure of all our level 5s. We have CEOs today. Health is transformed, orthopedic. We have the first public eye hospital in Kenya at Mama Lucy Annex in Umoja too. Those are things that Nairobians need to know and need to be able to appreciate. That yes, this is happening. This is not yet where we want it to be, but this is what we need to do. And that's why I love those, you know, reports that come, because they help us improve our service to the people.
I have a few questions from the audience, but, you know, I just want to circle back to Mradi and that approval. You said Nairobi County didn't approve Mradi? No. I have before me, though, Governor, an approval.
You have a document, it could be fake. Put it on E-Verify. If you go to nairobiservices.go.ke, you can check its validity.
So was this...
I won't even do it for you.
Okay.
Do it for yourself.
So here it is.
To test our system.
Tabled under the item number 70 on this day, on the 6th of October, 2022. That is the approval that's been granted.
For what?
And there's even the plans for it.
An approval for what? Is it a construction approval?
No. It's a notification of approval of development permission.
That is
this is, hang on, proposed LPG plant.
I'll have to verify that. I'll have to look at it because, as I've said, as example,
because what it shows here is that on the 6th of October, this approval was granted
the veracity
by the county.
I mean, you've just received a document. You have to I've given you an example of a lady in Embakasi who's paid license for 5 years and it's fake.
That's
so verified.
Fine. So verified. I'm happy to send this to you, and maybe you're able to tell us whether this is your document or not. In any case, if it turns out to be fake, would you be taking then action against those who claim to have approval from the Nairobi County if it's a fake document?
They're already in court under many charges. I can add this one.
Well,
I'd love to. I'll talk to the...
Shouldn't you? Because, you know, as a custodian of Nairobi County in your position as governor? In
fact, in the dailies tomorrow, we're announcing our inspection teams for every sub-county. The inspection teams have a team leader and a contact. The days of different people coming to your business premise, one person coming to check this license, to check that approval, are gone. And when they come there, they have a badge that you can check. You can actually look at that QR code and know if that is a verified Nairobi County employee. So if that has been done and, you know, it's a fake document, somebody must answer for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're calling it, is it fake or not?
You've not even shown me. It's on your phone. And I can't believe, I mean,
okay.
How would
I mean, but no, but you're not categorical on whether it's fake or not. Is there a possibility that there's...
How can I be categorical on something on your phone you've not shown me?
Okay, I will send it to you.
I know you believe in my abilities, but I don't have that one. I can't verify something you have not shown me.
Please do not purport to know what my abilities or my beliefs are in your abilities. Let's listen to some questions, actually see some that we have on social media. Do we have them? And we can get you to answer those quickly. Here is one from the Karen Langata District Association saying the governor should state on live television on when he is going to meet Nairobi associations and professional bodies to discuss urban planning on matters of Nairobi. Give us a date.
Well, it's not just done like that on the fly. We'll definitely engage them. I've told you the process of the development control. That particular association, when they had a meeting, I sent my CC, actually 2 CCs attended Karen Langata District Association. And these are amazing people. You know, they care about their community. They protected the community. And they should know, you know, I know there's fear. They think that we're also doing high rises there. It's not for everywhere. You know, Karen will remain as Karen. I'm very happy to report to them that we're building Karen Market. We have awarded it. And so the date shall be given to them.
Okay. I mean, but outside of the process that's at the counties, the process of, are you approachable? Are you willing to sit down with different residents of Nairobi?
You can ask Henry Ocheng of Kara. The first senator they met. I'm the first governor they had a session with. I had a round table with Kepsa. They've never done that in Nairobi. I am available to them. I appointed them to our Urban Planning Technical Committee. They had Dr. Abdul Malik Geshuki, who sat in that committee. For every approval, the residents are represented, the architects are represented, the engineers. It doesn't happen anywhere else in this country. You must give credit where it's due, when it's due.
Let's take another question that we have. We can just line them up as we have. This one's from Vincent Okello, I imagine. Asked the governor why some of the NMS health workers have not been considered to date despite his promises of giving them first priority. What happened to his promise?
The NMS health workers did an amazing job for Nairobi, and they continue to do. The court has ruled, and I told them, the court ruled that NMS, first of all, was a national government entity. They employed people through the Public Service Commission. While they've been in our facilities, we extended goodwill and told them that as we do the employment, you know, we would want, you know, since you've been there, that should be a factor. You know, employment is done by the Public Service Board. And so those who actually acceded and went through the process, for instance, the nurses, 425 nurses were actually onboarded. When it came to the medical officers, the doctors, the recruitment was going on. They took us to court to stop the recruitment, their own recruitment that they're talking about. And when they went to court, they lost the case. The judge said that Nairobi City County has no legal obligation to employ you or to absorb you. There's no form of employment called absorption, Yvonne. Goodwill or a promise has to pass through the law, you know. And so I told them, just apply. And once you apply, I really want you to, but there's an independent public service board. But you, having served in our facilities, should be able to give you first priority. There were 113 of them, doctors, for instance. We even advertised for 117 positions, just a bit above, you know, those 113. If any of them has no issue, we'd be very happy to have them, but they must follow the process of the law. They went to court and they lost the case, and they chose to appeal. So when they went on strike, I told the board to halt that process, because the idea would be then to pretend you're in the hospital, get onboarded, and then join the strike. You know, and I need doctors in hospital, you know, because I have to deliver health services to the people of Nairobi.
Let's take another question.
Yep, I like that.
Okay, Wesleyan. Nairobi streets can get crowded with hawkers, sometimes causing difficulties for pedestrians and established businesses. What strategies are you putting to balance the needs of hawkers and ensuring the smooth flow of traffic and supporting existing businesses? Let's take another one so that we can sort of handle them together. And then this one says, for Care Salams, they would like to ask when you plan to open up the Ruruta Health Center maternity wing. It's now overdue and expectant mothers are in dire need.
Okay. Let me take them both. And thank you for the salam. I didn't get the name of
Wesleyan, I'll make an attempt at, I'm not sure I pronounce it right, but...
Yeah. So the first thing on hawkers, our city is a city of contrasts. People have different social status. They all have children, they want to put food on the table. And we chose to make sure that, look, we can be able to balance the interests of those who are hawking, but also those who own businesses and shops and are paying rates, they're paying rent, you know. And so, Yvonne, in the 19 months, and I love that you know it is 19 months. In the 19 months that I've been in office, the running battles that used to be there between hawkers and city council officers or county government officers have not been there. We had cases of attacks. You've shown stories, you've read news of crude weapons being used. You saw the old, what I used to call tetanus field contraptions, many of them being retired when I got new vehicles for different use. I have met hawkers more than once, and I've agreed with them. But number one, the areas within the CBD that are no-go zones. So Moy Avenue going up, you should not hawk there. And these other areas, we agreed with them the time of operation. While we are doing that, we have been preparing back lanes for them to be able to sell their wares and to give them pop-up markets during the weekend. That is why, for the first time, there is no traffic charge on the weekend in Nairobi. I lifted the traffic fee, the parking charges, sorry, within the whole of Nairobi for the weekend, so that we can create more. Let's give them an opportunity. You know, Yvonne, if you have children and you have a dignified job and you come here, or this gentleman has his suit and tie, he comes here and he earns a living, the child of that person who only has a sack of potatoes is not a child of a lesser God. They all need opportunities. And the reason why we've had this problem of hawking was, number one, that government had not invested in the many years past in building trading spaces for them. You know, we committed to do 20 markets. We are on course. We're building Mutuni Market. We have a plan with South B Market. We have a plan with Jogo Road. All those markets that we had listed, Maji Mazuri. And fortunately for us, by the way, a lot of this is on land that had previously been grabbed. You know, Maji Mazuri, 5.3 acres, somebody was trying to sell us our own land. We've recovered so many parcels of land to build trading spaces. If you look at the progress in Mutwini, which is another grabbed land that we had in the city, it's amazing progress. I've just spoken about Karen Market. Some people might not be happy, might see other Kenyans as an ISO. That is all they have, you know. So, you know, we need to be considerate of each other. And even the hawker needs to be considerate of that person with the store. And we've aligned them in such a way that you cannot be selling clothes in front of a shop that is selling the same clothes, you know. And so the times of operation are clear. I talked to their leadership. If you ask the chairman of the CBD, Gashanja, in fact, he told me he's going home early to watch, you know. Because yesterday I told him, boss, tulikubaliana saa 10, nimeona watu wako wengine wamekuja mapema. You must strike that balance. The same with the matatus. Some of them had, I mean, you have not had a matatu strike in 19 months in Nairobi. Nairobi has had harmony in 19 months. If you are to look at it critically and objectively, tell me another 19-month period that Nairobi has seen. In the first term of office, in 3 months, people were already being slapped. There was violence in the city. There was a police post. There are bullet holes in the county assembly. There was a police post in there, you know. And some people, Yvonne, are not happy that we've been able to have a working arrangement with the MCS and with the and
okay.
all this.
Okay, but to be fair, that was a question from a viewer who was just asking about.
No, I'm telling you other people.
Okay.
It's an opportunity.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear that you're not speaking about that particular question, which was about hawkers.
That person is very happy. And they're asking, how do we strike a balance? And that's what I'm explaining.
No, that's right. No, it's just when you went into some people are not happy. I just wanted to be, are you addressing that view?
No, I'm addressing those who are unhappy.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Just to be clear. Then there was the other question as well.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. So the next question on Ruta, I'll find out. Ruta Health Center should be done soon. And if I was my own CC, I should have responded, send me a text. We have 124 facilities in Nairobi. Nairobi provides the highest level of health services in this country, even more than the national government. The national government has 5 hospitals, Mathare, Kenyatta, spinal injury, and I think Eldoret. And we've been able to transform that sector. And I'm very happy Ruta Health Center maternity should be open quite soon. There's been huge improvements. Stockouts of drugs are no longer happening in Nairobi County. this model of CEOs, and it's because we ask radical questions, Yvonne. Let me ask you a question. Why do counties have to buy medicine from KEMSA to go sell to the people at level 5 hospitals? Why not allow those who sell medicine to come and just stock it there in retail, you know? I'll save money. When I became governor, I found a bill of 185 million shillings. I sorted it out and then ended up with another one of 244. That money could have gone to infrastructure. And that's the new model we're using. We have all these pharmacies in Nairobi, Davi, Nim Pharmacy, whatnot. They sell drugs, they want clients. Come set up in a hospital. And we're piloting with 2 of our hospitals, Mbagathi and Mama Lucy. So long as you sell at the price you want, they shall never be a stockout, and we will not have issues of you stealing from yourself those drugs. Same as equipment. Why should I put 2.5 billion for an MRI? Yet the people willing to say, look, I have the equipment, can I come there and let's do a revenue share?
But there was an MES.
MES was a mess. It didn't work. It didn't work for us in Nairobi. It's a mess. And we did a report on it in the Senate, you know. And so let me come, place my machine, we do a revenue share, you don't have to use that money. I'm very happy. And I'm very grateful that we've finally been able to get back Mama Margaret Uhuru Hospital, which is a 400-bed capacity hospital in Ngomongo, Kariobangi North, you know. That hospital started in 1989. Nyayo wards kept faltering. Governor Kidero tried it. It faltered. Okay. Right now, it's coming back as a fully fledged general hospital. I can't. I'm sorry, Governor. We are really out of time with that one. I don't even think I've got time for any more because we really. But please allow me to tell Nairobians one thing. In 1 minute, please, Governor, because you've already had a moment to talk about everything that you're doing. In a minute, please. It's because I used to be a rapper, so I was able to say it quickly. But anyway, look, yeah, we saw you rapping in a video. Yeah, look, a couple of videos. Yeah, no, a recent one, I think. No, it's not true. That's a video when I was Senate. If you're talking about the one in Dubai, that's when I was in the Senate. Well, that's the most recent one we've seen. So was that I did one last week. I did another one during the Nairobi Festival. I always do it because I engage with the young people. Okay. Look, we have a beautiful city called Nairobi. Our city has been, has had challenges over the years, and the political history of it is known. What happened after the ruling party lost control of the city, how the city was neglected, why we only have 210 public schools for a whole county of 17 constituencies, while some constituencies have 150. We're working on those things. There was no magic wand to sort out the city. This city calls upon our patriotism for us to actually say, look, this is what I can do. The governor never said, I never said, let Sakaja make Nairobi work. We said, let's make Nairobi work. I'm glad by the progress we've made so far. We can do much better. I gave a state of county address, and I'm grateful to Citizen TV. You aired it live for 2 hours, just detailing the progress we've made. Even if sometimes we may falter, our philosophy and what we want to do to create a city of order, dignity, hope, and opportunity is really solid. We want to do that. And so we'll continue engaging with the public. For those who felt that they've tried to reach us, they've not, I apologize, and I'll find time to actually reach out to them myself, At some point, I know some of the residents in Woodley had an issue. They couldn't get through. They didn't like how they were being treated. I sat with them and they understood what our urban renewal is about. And that will continue happening. But let's understand, we have a city that's a global capital. All right. We really are out of time, Governor. Lazima iwaki, Yvonne. Yes, okay. So hopefully all the Nairobi residents share that thought with you, that in a work or lazima Even if they don't, they'll share the outcome of a working city. Okay, thank you, Governor, for making the time for us here on the program tonight. Governor Sakaja, you say you'll be before which committee? The Finance Committee, the PAC Committee on the 6th of May. There are quite a number. One is on the 6th, one is on the 25th. Yes. But I'll be there. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. I love Parliament. I've been there for 10 years. I love it. Maybe it's a little different when you're on the other side? No. It's the same old. I've been there longer than I've been a governor. All right. Thanks for joining us, Governor. Let's take a short break here on The Explainer. Now we're back with more. And we'll also share some more of your feedback, after, towards the end of this live newscast.